You're listening to Cancer Convos with Brady and Stacy.
Hey there, it's time for another edition of Cancer Convos, sponsored by Chelsea Smith Cosmetics in the Bismarck Cancer Center. Hey there, I'm Bob Brady.
And I'm Stacy Sturm.
Bingo. Now we're ready to rock and roll.
Ready to rock and roll. So we have another one of the amazing women that is in my my Chelsea Smith Cosmetics wig group. We have Valerie here to tell us her story. So welcome to Cancer Convos, Valerie.
Hello.
Hey, I noticed by the background you have some sort of plastic sheet behind you. What is going on?
What's going on?
Well, I teach high school art.
Okay.
And when my situation began, it was in 2020 when the COVID quarantine began.
Yeah.
So my first round with chemotherapy and all of the treatment that I was doing, I was able to teach remotely from home.
Good.
Which was wonderful. But then when we returned back to school, we had to make our area safe, especially for those of us who are immune compromised.
Yep.
And so my husband came in and created this like office barrier plastic sheeting around my entire workspace because I'm an art teacher. So it's like a studio classroom.
Yep.
It's very big.
Yeah.
Thankfully. So I have this whole area and I kept it that way because I have had 2 reoccurrences since my first diagnosis. And I'm doing great. I feel great, which is just one of those things that, makes you kind of sick because it's like, what's going on the inside is what we can't control.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I just like to stay safe. And so that's what that is.
You're like the lady in the plastic bubble with John Travolta back in the day. Yeah.
I'm in a bubble, but I have a hard time staying in my bubble. So I'm constantly like all over the place. Anyway, when I want my space, I'm like, hey, nobody come in my bubble.
Correct.
Now, since you are a teacher, you only have half an hour to basically tell us your entire crazy story because you're on lunch break.
Yes.
So tell us about your cancer and your diagnosis, Valerie.
Well, I was diagnosed in March of 2020. And my mom had actually just had an unexpected quadruple bypass, and we were in the process of trying to get her out of the rehabilitation center after recovery before everything started to shut down. Meanwhile, I was in the middle of our major art contest and I'm pretty competitive and I was doing all of these things going back and forth to the hospital. And it was time for me to have my mammogram. Well, as most moms that are working do, I put it off. And I'm not saying that was the reason why, but I did begin by feeling a lump on the side of my breast. And I couldn't tell if it was a muscle thing. It was really odd. I was working out all the time. I was eating all the right things, living my best life. And it was like, no history of it whatsoever in my family. So I thought, you know what? I'll wait till spring break to go get my mammo. So we finally got my mom to a place where we were going to have her out of the rehab facility and home. They were already talking about closing the world down, because of COVID. And I went to my appointment and they said, there's something there. It looks like it could be this. And from that point on, it was like, I'm going to MD Anderson in Houston. And what's funny is, it's not really funny, but people were canceling their appointments at that time because travel was starting to shut down. So I was able to get in right away for my appointment. But the hard thing about that was once I was at MD Anderson and they were redoing all of the testing and everything, I had to do it all by myself because no one was allowed to come in with us. You had to be by yourself. And it was the most nerve-wracking ordeal in my whole life. I don't think I've ever been as anxious and scared in my whole life because I'd never gone through this before or known anyone super close to me. I did have one colleague who had, but I didn't really put 2 and 2 together. So it was all a whirlwind for me. And so there it was. I was diagnosed with triple negative breast cancer, which is one of the ones that they say is the one you don't want to have. Chemotherapy. Chemotherapy is what is supposed to target that. And so right away got me into treatment, started that whole process. And I made it through and that summer celebrated, yes, I'm cancer free. Everything's awesome. Then when it was time for my next mammo, went in and they saw something else. So it was a recurrence. So I didn't make it out quite. I think it was like 6 months, maybe 6 to a year. And then I found the recurrence, went back into the whole thing again. And then right away they were like, doesn't look like it's working. So let's go ahead and have surgery. So let me back up. The first time I had surgery, I had a lumpectomy with reconstruction. I had that at MD Anderson in Houston. The second time around, when they said chemo didn't look like it was doing much, we went straight into a double mastectomy.
Yeah.
This time I did a double mastectomy with deep flap reconstruction. And I did that at PRMA, which is one of the top places in the country that a lot of women come from everywhere to San Antonio to PRMA to have their deep flap procedures. And so I went through that, and I ended up having a failed flap, which means blood flow was not kind of moving into the breast in question because I had radiation, I had surgery, I wasn't healed up enough. So 2 weeks later, I had another surgery, and they removed part of that reconstructed flap. And I ended up on a wound vac for 4 months with a nurse coming to my home 3 times a week to repair, or at least get this thing to heal up. It was pretty horrible. Then as soon as I finally made it off of the wound vac, went back to some treatment, some chemo treatment, and they said, let's go ahead and do a scan. We did a scan, and it was still there or back again. So the deep flap procedure, once you go through the first surgical procedure, you are given an opportunity for revision surgery. And that's where they make everything beautiful and perky, and they do the liposuction and all of that. Well, this girl never got to that, still am botched. Ended up having to go into more treatment again. And I actually just finished radiation. From that point on, I moved from D. Anderson, Houston to UT Health in San Antonio, closer to home. And we were talking about me being a teacher. I actually finished radiation, and I was doing half days where I was working till noon every day, driving to San Antonio, which is about 3.5 hours. Every single day I was driving there, getting radiation, and driving back home to Corpus. I live in Corpus Christi, Texas, by the way.
Okay.
And so I just finished that about 3 weeks ago. And now I'm just kind of at a pause, and we're trying to figure out, they say I'm a rare situation. I'm like, I can't be that rare. Come on. But because it keeps coming back, they're very surprised that it's just coming back to my chest, which thank goodness, because it has not metastasized to organs or anything like that. But at the same time, I'm blowing their minds because they're like, why? Why does it keep coming back? After all of these things, we've done the 2 surgeries. I had clear margins, both surgeries. I've also had radiation twice. And actually this last time they added additional radiation, which I didn't even think was possible. I didn't know you could have that much radiation. I feel like the dang bionic woman, like nothing can touch me because the stuff isn't working. So I'm like, what next? All I do is I just, have hope, and, being familiar with other women in my situation has helped a lot, because I can see these women are thriving. They're fighting, they're thriving. Some of them, you'd never even know they're sick.
And that's the thing. I've said it 1,000 times. I'll say it again. Medicine is a practice. And they're practicing on you. And just because it works on Stacy doesn't mean it's going to work on Valerie. It's going to work on Bob. That's the way it works. So they try to figure it out. And you're like, oh, you're a rare case. How come you're a rare case after all these years? But 4 years in, you seem pretty up in,
trying to be. I mean, I have 3 children. I have a 16-year-old, I have a 13-year-old, and I have a 10-year-old, soon to be 11-year-old daughter. And they are my life. And they keep me grounded. And I have an amazing husband who, man, after doing this for 4 years, you'd think he'd have been like, I'm out of here, but no, he's so supportive, and my whole family is. And we don't talk about cancer. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have this. No. I kept it pretty quiet the whole first year that I went through this, until I started realizing that it is important to share your story so that other women who are terrified and going through it know that you can get through it. And so I'm still kind of private about it, but that's why I do the whole wig thing, because I just want to look as close to myself as possible. And actually my hair has grown back. It's just, I can't rock the cute little rocker style haircuts. That's just not
that's me too. And it came back. I don't know about you, Val, but when my hair came back, it's like thin and it's got 100 different cowlicks. I have no idea what to do with it. And it's like little baby hairs. It doesn't do anything. And when you get used to wearing like these big, beautiful, nice wigs, when you have these little tiny patchy hair coming in and people are like, oh, you should be proud of it. No, go to hell. It's not your hair. Like,
I know.
your
I'm like,
hair
can I
was
just
patchy
be
and
me?
thin. Yeah, it's not the same. And so I totally get it. What has been the hardest part about going through all of this? What have been the biggest struggles with you? Is it physical? Is it mental? Is it both?
I would say, I've been through hell and back with the surgeries and the botched surgery and just all of that, but I still wouldn't consider that like hard, even though I've been through some tough times. The hardest is mental. And it's mostly about the unknown. I want to be here for my kids. I want to get to that point where I see them graduate. I want to see them get married. I want to see them have babies. And it's like, we've got to get to a point where, can we just stop this already? Can I just get past this? Can I have a free year? You know what I mean? And so that's the hardest part, is just knowing, sometimes I feel guilty when I forget. And I do have times when I forget that I have this. And I say have this, and who knows, maybe I don't. We're at a point right now where we're at a pause and we're going to check and make sure. But the last scan I had, which was very recent, it was just that one same little area. They can't even tell if it is something or if it isn't something. And I'm just like, so we just leave it? I'm confused.
Yeah. Sometimes it can be like scar tissue or something weird too, that is showing up and triggering it.
They did check my other breast recently because they thought that it was scar tissue. I'm like, I've never had problems on that side. But no, it's a mind thing for sure, because, you just wake up and go, oh yeah, I still have this thing happening, and like I said, I was living my best life before. Never in a million years did I think it would happen to me. And I think that is the biggest misconception, is people think, well, I don't have a history of it, so it's not going to happen to me. And also, I didn't even realize there were so many different types of breast cancer until I had it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It's really eye-opening. And I've learned so much through the whole process. Too much sometimes, because it is scary.
Yeah. I didn't even realize there's so many different types of cancer. Like, people are getting cancer in areas that I'd never even heard of. Like,
I know.
crazy.
It's crazy. It's just become one of those things, I think, like, and I don't want to say it's normal to have cancer, but it's almost one of those things where, somebody or two people or three people or that have some form of cancer, and it's really horrible. You go to places like MD Anderson or UT Health MD Anderson in San Antonio and in Houston, and the place is packed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what is going on? You know what I mean? And like you said earlier, it's not that we're rare. It's just that there's so many different things happening in our bodies. They're no two alike at all. So it is rare, it is rare in the fact of that they're just things happening in our bodies that we can't control.
Did they do any like genetic testing on you to see what might be going on?
Yes.
And did anything weird come up?
Yeah, no, nothing in my genetic history, nothing. And I'm just like, oh, great. So it's just going to keep coming back. And I have known women who do have the genetics. The genetics came back positive in some areas. And then they went ahead and did, the extra measure to remove things that could be a potential problem in the future. Yeah. And man, those women, they got over it the first time and they're good to go. And I'm like, I had no history of it whatsoever. And it's just like, it's my cells. It's who knows, maybe it's the trauma that my breast has endured over the 4 years, you just don't know. That's the crazy thing about triple negative, is there are so many unknowns, because it's not a hormonal thing. There really isn't anything that says they know exactly what it is. I had one doctor say it's a cell thing, your cells and something like that. But even that was confusing to me, because I'm not a doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do that too. They give you these little quips and little ideas of like, oh, I don't know what that means. I don't get it. Like, I just want to be better.
I want to be better.
Yeah, you're right. There's not much separation between people that have cancer that whether it's the 6 degrees or whatever it is. It's just amazing how it just happens to a lot of people.
Right. And out of nowhere, And so a lot of women think, should I avoid the sugar? Should I avoid this? Do I need to do this and that and the other? And I'm like, I was doing all that.
Yeah.
I was rowing all the time. I was physically fit. I was avoiding, a lot of the sugar and the sodas and all of that. And look where it got me. I'm not saying it got me, look where it got me. I'm just saying it can happen to anyone.
Yeah.
No one's untouchable.
So what's been the hardest part now after you've gone through cancer treatments? Is it the energy level? Is it this weird side effects that are popping up?
And my friends and I joke, because I always say, like, I must be the bionic woman, because, the medicines can't touch me, which is not a good thing, because I want the medicines to touch me. But, I kind of had arthritis before, and workouts would help with that. But it really did intensify that, getting around is a little tougher. The weight gain, oh my gosh, they pump you with steroids, the pre-meds and all that really packs on the weight. And then, of course, when you have a botched situation, and I say that because I'm still in a healing process, you wouldn't believe the amount of tissue damage is going on with me, to the point where my surgeon says he doesn't want to touch me for over a year, because the last surgery was a year and a half ago, and I'm still not healed. So that's preventing me from wanting to get sweaty and do the exercises. And then, of course, you have the radiation. And so there's this whole like range of movement thing that you're dealing with. And so, it does leave a lot of lasting effects. But at the same time, I'm very grateful that I have, endured so much, but I'm still getting around pretty good,
Good.
Still the soccer mom. And I just bought one of those little steppers recently, that on TikTok, those little mini steppers, and I'm getting on that.
I have one of those too.
Yeah. I have a really amazing rower that my husband bought me before all this started. Because of the pandemic, I couldn't go to my trainer and do it, but it's in my garage and I haven't used it. But I have these thoughts like, I'm going to get out there and get on that rowing machine, and but it is a little tougher.
And it's hard to explain. It's hard to explain to people too, because they don't understand. Like, why are you so tired? And why don't you want to do this? And why did you put on the weight? And why is all this? And me and Stacey had on our show, like, it's really none of their business, but they make it their business. It just sucks.
And it sucks because sometimes it's like, man, I don't want to have to tell them what I'm going through, but in a way I want to be like, I'm this chubby because I had all that medicine pumped into me. You know what I mean? And it's like, but you don't want to go there. But at the same time, it's like, you're not working on an equal level playing field here. You know what I mean? It's like, and now they have all these weight loss products and things that people are taking, and you see people dropping tons of weight. And it's like, I'm terrified. I don't want to put anything extra in my body. I've already had all this poison pumped into me.
Yep.
So, it's a little rough when you've had this whole, view of yourself as, really wanting to take care of your body and be physically fit and doing all the right things. And then from, just out of nowhere, it's like everything just crumbles down, and it's different, but I'm grateful.
Yeah.
I'm here and I'm able to do things, and I can be a mom and a teacher and do the things that I love. I'm grateful.
Yeah. I was actually talking about the weight thing with my sister this week, and my sister's a nurse and she was here in town, and I told her, I'm like, I eat less now than I ever have in my entire life. I eat as little as I can to get by, little bits here, little bits there, so I don't get sick. Because I do have the gene, so I take a PARP inhibitor after my treatments. So I take a daily chemo pill twice a day. And if I don't eat, I'll get like violently sick, like I'll throw up. And that's happened numerous times to me. But I'm trying to like eat a little here, eat a little there. And I'm not even eating bad things. Like I will have a protein bar and gain 5 pounds.
Right. That is so true.
Absolutely no reason for it. It's because I think your hormones are messed up, your body's messed up. Like you said, it's a struggle to try to lose 2 pounds. It's just a struggle to not gain,
Right. But you're right, because all of those treatment things that they're giving us, you almost feel like I better eat, because if I don't, I'm going to be really sick.
Yeah, I will throw up.
Even if you won't be, but it's still because, you've had something before that did make you feel like that. You're like, oh, I better make sure I eat a little something. And that little something is like, man, did I just like eat a whole, buffet or something? Yeah, I get
your
it.
Brain takes over, and it shouldn't. Like, it's,
Right.
Yeah. My mind is like, okay, have a protein bar. And I'm like, that's, okay, I'm feeling nauseous now. I can tell I need to eat. I'll have a protein bar. And then my body is like, bitch, you're funny. You need more than a protein bar. My body's like, I'll be like, okay, so a handful of blueberries too. And my body's like, no, you need more.
Right. Well, it's like when I first started doing chemo the first time, water did not taste good at all. So girl, I had to have like Skittles and put a Skittle in my mouth just to get the water down. That was, and okay, all that sugar and all that, but they would tell me whatever you can get down and however you can get it down, do it. And that was my first run with it. And it's just so crazy. Yeah. People have no idea. But it isn't really like it is in the movies either. And so there's just, I mean, you could just go on and on with the stories.
I know. I wish you had an hour-long lunch break, Val.
I don't know. I think in a nutshell, I've had some rough times over the last 4 years, but yeah, I really wouldn't consider that, suffering. I've seen people really struggle through the chemotherapy and the different treatments. I did have one treatment kind of recently that had just been approved for early stage, and they gave it to me at the end of last year, and it did a number on my stomach. And I had not had any problems like that, quite like that. And it was more gastrointestinal. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. So he lowered the dose. And once he started lowering it, and when I finally figured out how it could all work, they took me off. And I was like, but I'm at this point, I'm open to if they felt like there was something more that they could do to prevent this from reoccurring again. I'm open. Yeah. I'll do it. Mm-hmm. I'll do whatever I have to do to be here for my children and myself.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest concern when you have kids is I don't want to leave my children. That's the hardest thing to deal with is I don't want to miss out on weddings. I don't want to miss out on graduations. I don't want to miss out on that stuff. I don't want to leave my kids. That's tough. You basically you're trying to live for other people.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And, we just don't make it a big deal in my house. Like my kids were a little younger when all of this began, and, they're not naive. I mean, they are a little bit, but they knew something was going on with me. I mean, I was losing my hair, it's like, so I would just say, like, I'm just taking some really strong meds and, it'll come back. And I always wore a headscarf if I was at home. And then when I went out, I wore wigs. Like I wanted to look like myself. Yeah. And so we just didn't really, and we still don't. Cancer is not a word that we use in my house. We don't even bring it up. It's just, we just live our lives and, do whatever we can for their normalcy, because part of the struggle is, it sucks and it's not fair that some people have to go through it. Okay, fine, whatever. I was the one and this is it, right? But it's not fair to them. That's where the struggle is. When you talk about how this messes with your mind, it's like when children have to face something so terrible of losing a parent or something, that doesn't give them the chance to be, you don't know how it'll affect them. And so that is a huge struggle with me when I think about things. It's like, they need a chance. Please let me get to where they can just be grown and have a good mindset and, live a life on their own. And it's okay. They have the memories of, and who knows, I might outlive everybody doing it. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I just have to stay positive and live, do what I can to survive.
Well, Valerie, we thank you for your story. And it's, it's about blocking out the noise for the bad stuff and hopefully the good stuff gets in. That's the thing, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. I appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity to share my story.
Thanks for being on with us,
it's important,
Valerie.
And one of the messages that I would really like to say is that for the women, a lot of the women I've noticed, because I've become a member of different groups of women who going through this, their fear is recurrence. Their fear, they're so terrified. Oh my gosh, what if it comes back? And I'm living proof here to say, if it does, you get through it again and again. Whatever it is you have to do, you do it. You've already been through it once. You're a baddie. You can do it again.
That's awesome.
Well,
thanks, Valerie.
Have fun. Paint some happy trees this afternoon. Everything will be fine.
Definitely will.
Yes, we thank you for your stuff and good luck the rest of the way. Cancer Convo is sponsored by Chelsea Smith Cosmetics and the Bismarck Cancer Center. Until next time, have a great week.